So I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video or not, but I've had time to reflect and think about it, and ultimately I've decided to do it. I was recently diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and this is not a video about crying for help. It's about being open, about being honest, about awareness, about growth, about the pain and the relief of finally understanding why my brain seems to work differently from other people. And my core values are authenticity, vulnerability, and humor. So this fits in with that. I want you to understand, if you're with me on this journey, if you're curious, I want you to understand a lot of the parameters around it, because sometimes, or a lot of times, what I've found is that if I don't know what certain people are facing, or are you married? Do you have 5 kids? Are you living in San Francisco versus rural Virginia? Like, all of these factors can play into what I do as a viewer or a consumer of someone's content. Because I've too often looked at someone and compared my life to them and realized their experience is completely different from mine, so I can't do a cut and paste, this is how I'm going to do things in my life now. It's just not the case. So I do want to be open and honest, and I want you to understand that this is not, like I said, a pity video or I'm helpless video. This is getting awareness on how things work, how your brain works is empowering. And that's going to change some things about the way I work, about the way I write, about the way I have this interaction. And I found it only appropriate to have that conversation with you now. So this has been with me for a long time. It just didn't have this name. It had other names. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder back in 2005 or 4, somewhere in there. And that was after my military deployment. I was also diagnosed with the TBI because I had a traumatic brain injury while deployed. So all of these things were treated over a decade of work and therapy, and I made progress. And, I went through my drug addictions, and one of the things that people with bipolar disorder have issues with is substance abuse. So I applied my drinking and my drugging to PTSD, and that is the problem with mental health, is it's an overlapping web of all these different things. And what I found out was through my drug addiction, through my overdose, through getting clean and sober. I've been clean from drugs from the last 15 years, sober from alcohol in the last 10 years. Met my wife 15 years ago. And as I kind of removed the cobweb, as I took this thread of PTSD and dealt with it and integrated all of these feelings and thoughts, and then I have the TBI, I'm moving that, and I still have all this stuff, plus stuff when I was a kid. This cycle has been present since I was a kid, like radical inspiration, sometimes endless energy, and sometimes very little sleep, and cycles of depression. And I thought it was normal for middle schoolers to not want to be alive. And I find out that that's not normal. Most kids aren't thinking that way. Most kids are finding it easy to interact with other people without trying to create this persona. And I had good friends, and, I don't even know that I showed the fullness of who I was to them. Not that it was a lie, but I wasn't giving them all of it. I was hiding a lot of the depressions and giving them some of the hypomanias. I'm using new words here because I didn't see it that way. But I've had people talk to me and tell me a lot of times that when I speak at certain times, it feels like I'm channeling spirit. I'm channeling some other energy. And the truth is, in those moments, I was in a mania. I was connected to this brilliant mind that could take this concept as I'm talking, find a pivot to another one that just inspired me in that moment, jump off to it while I'm already talking, and then seamlessly transition over here and then fluidly go back over here because I'm actively thinking and reflecting on what I'm saying, and I'm making connections and new connections I've never thought of before, and I'm sharing them in real time, and people are inspired by it and they're moved by it. Afterwards, I have no idea what I said. I impacted someone, and someone was like, oh man, I wish I was recording that, because I would listen to that over and over because you just spoke to my soul. So of course that makes me feel like I have some special gift. It makes me feel like I can communicate in an impactful way. I should be a coach, but I can't bottle that. And I'm not even sure that it was that impactful lifelong. It's a moment where you go and you hear a message and you're like, that's going to change my life. It changes your 2 or 3 days, and then you go back to normal. So I'm not saying that I was really that impactful, but I was able to do something other people couldn't do, and I got a lot of joy from that. And so I started to seek that joy through filmmaking, through storytelling, through coaching, all of the efforts that I do. And it's always difficult when I can't capture that magic. And I don't know when it's coming. I don't know when it's going to go. And so I can't ride it. I overcommit, I overpromise, I get myself in a situation where I build up this world of, I was really high functioning in a mania. I spend money, I create businesses, I do all these things, and then bam, life hits and I go into a deep depression. And my wife has seen this for 15 years. I've experienced it since 5th grade. And I didn't know it wasn't normal because we didn't talk about it in the 90s and the 80s. We didn't talk about mental health. We didn't understand it, so we couldn't frame it. And I certainly didn't understand it. My dad didn't understand it until the last year of his life, where he told me, he's like, you really see the world differently from other people, don't you? You experience the world in ways that I can't imagine. I felt like I was seen because he finally showed me through his own probably suppression of his volatility that he saw me and didn't know what to do with me. And that makes a lot of sense. And that heals a part of me. And so now that I'm in this phase of life and it keeps going, kids are getting older, more responsibilities pile on. I have dreams and ambitions. I've failed so many times, yet I keep coming back to this creativity because creativity is the expression of my soul in some regard. I'm not saying that like if you read my book it's going to change your life. I'm just saying I have to get it out, and creativity is the consistent way, whether it's music, art, or writing. It connects with that silent part of myself that I want to push away from the world, and then eats me up, and it's silence that kills and puts me into depressions. And the only way to kill depression is to express. Art is the way I love to express myself. Conversation with trusted individuals is the way I express myself and pull myself out of those moments. But I have to stay connected. But I can't do it so much where I get manic. When I was writing Where Magic Slept, I had a series of 3 months where off and on I was writing 4,000 words a day, just flying through this novel, and was deeply inspired. And honestly, sometimes when I read those lines, I don't remember writing them because I was just flying through it. So I'm rediscovering my story. And it's this really weird thing because I get confused because I'm like, am I losing my mind? Am I losing my cognitive functioning? I can't remember this word and I'm struggling to find words. And it all gets overwhelming. And there's some truth to that, where bipolar disorder can create cognitive decline because of the rapid cycling or the ebb and flow of mania and depression. So that scares me. But then I realize it's not so much a doom and gloom story. It's you got to put boundaries around this thing. And we've done that around my spending, because I would get not us in financial trouble, but I overspend and I do spend money on things that I don't need to spend. And it doesn't make any sense why I bought 2 or 3 of these things at times. So my wife has put boundaries up and helped me put boundaries around it. You know, today I was going to buy something that was like $200 Bluetooth headphones for my own processing. Because sometimes I have to block out the sensory data around me, and sometimes that is just because this is a trigger and it has to happen, but I need to block out of it. So can I do this? And she's like, can you find a cheaper option? And I'm like, no, but the sound quality and this, and then I can play drums with it and I'll be able to hear my music and the clarity and the blah, blah. I was having all these reasons, and then she understands them, but she's like, can you? And so today I'm going to buy like a $30 pair of Bluetooth headphones. So there's small things like that are boundaries that I need to put in my life. And that's going to make me better because it makes me communicate more clearly and reduce the shame that I feel, instead of just going out and doing the thing because I know I'm going to get met with resistance. I need to be disciplined. I need to be honest, and I need to accept that the psychosis that can happen in my brain can make me feel like reality is something that it isn't. And I have to talk to other people who are grounded in that reality that I can trust and aren't going to manipulate me and tell me what truth is. And when I get depressions and manias, like the manias, I really enjoy them. I love them. I don't want to lose them because that's when I feel most like myself. But the depressions are brutal and they don't happen all the time. My therapist said that you could go a full year without an episode. So it's really tricky to know when they're coming, but I'm in the process of tracking that stuff, learning what the triggers are so I can be better equipped to create a routine and structure that leans into health and away from those triggers. There's always going to be triggers. I mean, I'm not saying I'm insulating my whole life, but I am redefining what triggers I expose myself to, what stressors I expose myself to, how long I can write. I can't do a 4-hour writing block, because if I'm in a 4-hour writing block, I absolutely run the risk of triggering myself into a mania or depression. If I can't think of the words, if I can't figure out what the next story beat should be, I need to stop, because that can trigger depression. If I'm inspired, I need to let that inspiration be there. But if I chase it too long, I'm going up into mania. And then I'm thinking about crazy things, not dangerous things, but things that are not going to pan out well for me because they haven't in my lifetime. And it's because I'm using the wrong part of my brain, or the wrong part is in control. But I can harness that to a certain degree and use that as a way to continue to heal, to express myself so I don't sit in silence. I can use my training, my weightlifting, as a way to create routine and to be physical, and that's been proven to help with any mental health condition. There are ways that I'm going about this that are the same but different, with a different lens. And that's the important thing about diagnosis and getting understanding of yourself, is you can then filter your life through a different frame and a different lens. And this is not to mean depression means that I'm worthless. Mania means that I'm incapable of making wise decisions. This isn't because I have anxiety, I can't go out and be in public. It's just redefining the frame of what you look at these things through. And so I'm giving myself boundaries of time. I've given myself boundaries of how long I can be out in public at certain times before I get overwhelmed and I have to like tap out and head home, or take a break by myself, go to the vehicle for 15 minutes, try to re-engage in the environment. All of these things are just boundaries and support systems I put in place. And now that I have this piece of the puzzle, I can do more of that. But I get suicidal thoughts. I get in these deep depressions and I can feel like the best answer is that I'm not here. And to anybody else around me, it makes no sense. Like, absolutely, we want you around. But to me, that doesn't compute in those moments. And that's what led me to the diagnosis, is getting to that point where I was worried that I needed to go inpatient or go to the hospital because I couldn't get out of it. And it was just getting worse and worse. And so when I went in, that's when I got the diagnosis, because I was in that state. And when I'm not in those states, I can portray and have portrayed a really healthy image that I've got it all together. And that, in some degree, is a lie. It's a protective one. It's not one that I do because I want you to think I'm awesome. It's because I don't want you to know how bad it gets in my head. I'm not out here to tell you how bad it is for me, because I don't think there's value in that, because a lot of times that can just make people feel like, well, I don't have it as bad as him. Or if I think I have it bad, this person might be like, oh, you don't have it bad at all. Like, you should be fine. I wish I was like you. It's not about that at all. It shouldn't be like that for anybody, because when you see someone having a real big struggle, I've had people say that's inspiring that you've gotten through this, but I have no right to complain because I don't have it bad enough to need help. It's BS. That is not my point here at all. I just want you to know that I struggle, and you probably struggle too. And if you struggle, if I struggle, that warrants our attention. How will it impact my writing? Well, now I understand the frame, because I went and got help and understanding, and now I'm going to go to therapy with a new focus, because the old way wasn't helping because I didn't have all of the data. You have to keep going when something's broken and you're putting in the work and it won't get better. You've got to get more data because something else might be going on. And so I went in and I got the diagnosis. And when I got it, it felt good for a moment. It felt really good because finally it made sense. My life made sense. The feelings I had make sense. But that brought with it a lot of other questions. What does this mean for me? If I don't deal with the stuff that I have to deal with, I'm not going to be an effective writer. Not because I can't create something, but because I can't sustain something. That's the big difference for me. But I have hope now, even though I have had a recent depression after the diagnosis and I've had a mania, I see it more clearly and I can better bring consciousness to that. And I'm starting therapy again, intensive therapy, 3 times a week with the group. And I'm leaning into all these opportunities I have to deal with it. And I won't go into all of the details about that, but I want you to understand that my structured life is changing, and that might impact certain things I do here, things I talk about, things that slow me down in posting. There's a different priority for sure, but this is still healthy. My wife asked me if it's healthy to post to social media, and I said, yeah, because it's one of my favorite ways of expressing, and expression kills depression, so it helps me. I'm talking to friends. I have a support system. Another friend of mine from the Army is bipolar, so we've been connecting on that and talking about it and helping each other through, and that's a beautiful thing. But I'm not going to get into the very nitty-gritty details of all of the different conversations about medication, about holistic methods, and I'm looking at everything because I'm trying to figure it out and make the best decision for myself. So that's a very personal thing and a family thing that I don't need to share here. But what I'm sharing here, I'm not ashamed of. I'm not afraid that someone's going to get this and judge me for it, because people are going to judge. People judge me for the weirdest things. So this is just another one of those things that I could be judged for. I get it. But this is something I'm sharing because I want to reach out to people who maybe are suffering and let you know that things are still possible. I've written a book. I've written 2 books, and this one might be publishable. So I'm editing it. If it's not this novel, maybe it's the next one. But I can do this. The more I understand myself, the more I keep going forward and take these setbacks, but then keep walking forward after I sit down for a little bit and figure things out. Like, we can do this. Your mental health doesn't define who you are. It defines how you have to move through this world. But that movement is in forward progress. It's not in regression. It just means you have to walk with different steps than maybe somebody else does. That doesn't make you bad or wrong. Doesn't make them good, because we're all doing the same thing. We all are trying to figure out who we are and live as that and move forward and grow. Doesn't matter where you're on the spectrum of anything. That's the goal. So we can't compare ourselves. We have to look at ourselves and say, what do I need to do next? So I just really wanted to share that with you. And in closing, I just want to let you know, struggle is real. Social media doesn't show the whole story. We all know that, but we don't consciously think about it all the time. We can easily start to look at someone and think, this is awesome, inspiring, it must be great, and not know the full story, because a lot of people aren't going to share it. And I get why. Some people, it's because if they share it, their job is going to see, and that could create a whole bunch of issues. I don't have that. I'm retired and I'm writing, so the only person that's going to shut me down is me. I don't have anything holding me back from sharing, because I share what I'm good and ready to share, not what I'm going to regret sharing because I've made those mistakes a while ago. And I still get reminders on social media where I'm like, oh God, why did I do that? Why did I share that? That's not even me. But vulnerability in trusted relationships is the antidote. Authenticity in trusted relationships is the antidote. Continued expression is the antidote. We just have to learn where it's safe to do so and what we're ready to share with whom. For most of us, it's not going to be a camera for the internet to see, but this is one interaction I'm having. I'm having a bunch of other ones outside of this that go deep, because I need that. We all need it on some level. If I do this, if I continue talking, I can write novels. I can become an author. I know I can. And whatever it is that you need to do, regardless of professionalism, regardless of it making money, if you're finding the things that keep you expressing, keep you from being silent, and it's good for you, keep going, no matter what. Because as soon as you remove those things, that storm in the mind, it's going to be a lot louder and a lot harder to walk through. But we are equipped, when we're in community with trusted individuals, to walk through that storm. And there will be many. And I'm learning how I need to walk through mine. And it would be my honor if you continued to walk with me. I know this wasn't much about novels, but I did want to put this out here as a reframe, a reset, so that you can know me more fully, and so that I can be more open and honest on this channel. And if you're here for that, if you're okay with that and you're ready to watch that journey, please stay. I want to have you around. Just like sometimes I'm like, do people really want me around? Well, yes, they do. But sometimes my brain says they don't. And I'm aware of that. And I know the reasons, the mechanics why, and I'm getting those answers, and I'm continuing to write, just maybe at a little slower pace with a little bit more awareness. So stick around, and I really appreciate you if you've spent this much time with me for doing so. It's meaningful to me, and I hope you come back to the next one. But until then, journey well, my friends.